What?
Said the rock started a line.
Welcome to the Gameday716 Roundtable, brought to you every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Your hosts, as always, a Buffalo guy, Noah's dad, and Grandmaster Flash's protege, Todd Morse. They call him the man of the hour, Noah Morse. Former defensive end and tight end, Game Day CJ Boatman. And yours truly, Paul Lodarczyk, a.k.a. P-Dubs. We are Gameday716, and we are live.
No.
Okay, cool. Hey, welcome to Gameday716. We are here, as the intro said, we are live. You have myself, Todd, and Noah, and Paul here. CJ will be joining, hopefully, at some point. We have a great show for everyone today. We're probably going to go around an hour or so. Lots of categories, so we're skipping rapid fire this week. And we're just gonna get right into what happened this week. So what happened this week, man? No. Two losses. The Bills beat the Panthers 31-14. The mighty Carolina Panthers were a big victory for the Bills. They eked this one out. Noah, you were at the game. How did it feel there? Because on TV, I think it probably felt differently than it did there.
Yeah. I mean, when they went like 3 and out, and then they went 3 and out again, everybody was like, "Oh no, here we go again."
On my own, going down the only road they've ever known.
Well, that's not true, but
they know that road.
Well, that's not the only one because they've won before. So if it was for them to go back to losing, that would be depressing. But once the defense started making stops, and then we kind of all realized that the Panthers aren't doing anything like productive in any stretch of the imagination, everybody got a lot more comfortable, and then the touchdowns started happening, and everybody was like, "Okay, this is fun again."
Yeah, so the touchdowns but they didn't start coming until the second quarter. The Bills did look a little dead in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So the feeling was still okay in this. It was, I guess, for me and Paul, I don't know how you felt watching the game, but I felt more tense than the score actually was.
Yes.
Like
recency bias for sure, but yes,
maybe that was it. But I don't know. Every once in a while, Carolina would break something off, and I would be like, is this the beginning of something? And then it wouldn't be, but it could have been. What could have been for Carolina? I'm sure they're thinking that now. But the Bills have caused another quarterback benching.
Yes.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yes.
So anyway, we're going to do one like and one dislike of the game. So Noah, we'll start with you. What was your one like? We'll do likes and then we'll do dislikes. Or do you want to do it by person?
Wait, what?
Do you want to do your like and dislike together, or do you want to do likes
and then one dislike?
And then dislikes?
Yeah, we can go around. My one, I was confused. Wow, my one like, I mean, was that the offense got going. I mean, they looked sharp once they started hitting their stuff and doing their stuff, and they looked back to par. And yeah, I would say my one like was the offense.
Oh, what was your one like?
Ed Oliver. That man was flashing all over the place. Had a forced fumble that luck would have it. Yeah, I thought he flashed quite a bit. He showed a lot of hustle on plays even after he was knocked to the ground. the play where he knocked the ball from Cam's hand. He got knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Cam started to scramble, started breaking it upfield. Ed Oliver was on the far hash, and Cam was running down the near hash. And Ed Oliver not only catches up to him, but forces that fumble that then bounces and they recover themselves. But I thought he had an outstanding game, and I think he continues to deliver over and over and over again.
Here we go. There's CJ.
And now we can get CJ's. Perfect
CJ.
timing.
Got his
CJ.
device is connected now.
Welcome to the
Yeah, I don't know.
show.
Hello.
We're almost done. No, I'm kidding. So
Wrapping it up.
Final thoughts.
yeah, no, glad you're here. Glad you could make it. And we're just talking about the Bills' victory over the Panthers, and we're doing one like and one dislike. So what did you like about the game or players or whatever struck your fancy?
What did I like? I mean, I don't know. I personally believe that, watching that game, from Cam, I'm convinced that he doesn't have an arm to be able to throw further than 20 to 30 yards down the field. That being said, I really liked what the DBs did, and I don't know if that was I don't know if that was in response to, because of how bad he was, or that they played very well, but either way, I'll take it. The DBs looked real good. They played well. And then as far as something I disliked,
We haven't gotten there yet.
okay.
Yeah,
So that was what I like. DBs played well, but the caveat is that clearly Cam is not what he used to be.
We
So
have that as a category. So we'll,
can we shout out Harrison Phillips real quick?
No,
Because
you
my
missed that.
gosh.
we'll get there.
It's next. Defense is next.
Yeah.
Okay. No wonder you brought up offense first. Makes sense. I need to follow cues.
Yeah. So should I do it?
No.
Okay. So my like was the running game, getting Devin Singletary going. 22 carries, 86 yards, averaged a whopping 3.9 per.
It's better than 1 or 2.
It's better than 3.5.
That's also true. It's better
Right?
than 3.8.
Better than 3.8. I've been teaching Noah math, so he's been doing really good.
Nice. Nice.
So Singletary was definitely something that I liked to see them get him involved. I think everyone felt a little bit of comfort seeing a guy emerge and seeing it be him, because I think we all feel that he's the best running back of the three. And also getting an actual running touchdown that actually looked like a competent running back touchdown, I think was pretty nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, not to cut you off or anything, but just kind of what we talked about the past couple weeks, where we wanted to see a guy get the majority of the touches, right? And that's what we saw. And it's kind of hard not to equate the two and say that giving him those touches made him more confident, and also made him produce a little bit better. I mean, you can't say it didn't. So I think that we were on the right track with picking someone and sticking with them. And I think that's what they did, which was, just to your point, was good to see.
Okay. Yes. Agreed. So Noah, what was your dislike?
I mean, what was there to dislike? Really? But I mean,
there was plenty, but go ahead. Harrison Phillips. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he was terrible in the game. No, I would say the inconsistencies in the pass rush. I mean, yes, Harrison Phillips and Ed Oliver had good games, but you were sitting there again, you're letting you kind of did let them go to drive a little bit, and then it was like they snapped back to reality and were like, oh yeah, they're not that good and we should probably stop them. And I for as well as Ed played and Harrison Phillips played, I would still say that there are inconsistencies. And even though F.A. Obata got 2 sacks at the end of the game, that was at the end of the game when they're just sitting in a deep zone saying, I dare you to throw it.
I thought Obata played well through the whole game, though. I thought one of those was a little earlier.
both at the end.
But
he had the one that he split the A gap quick and got right through to Cam untouched, but then like went to go arm tackle him and it didn't work out that well.
Yeah. He did have 2 sacks though. So Paul, what was your dislike?
I'm going to say tight end play short of Dawson Knox. And here's what I mean by that. We don't have a tight end 2 on this roster right now. We just don't. I screamed at my TV when Tommy Sweeney dropped that pass because at first I thought it was Dawson Knox dropping an easy one again. And I was like, Dawson! And then I looked and it was Sweeney. I was like, oh, okay, it was Sweeney. But then the realization struck me that, like, if you don't have Dawson Knox on the field, the defense is going to be alerted to the fact now that they're probably not throwing to the tight end. And until Tommy Sweeney emerges and shows that he can make that grab and make a defense pay for not giving him that respect, then teams aren't going to take it seriously. So I think that changes a little bit of what we could do with our tight ends moving forward. And it just shows how big of a gap there is between Dawson Knox and then Tommy Sweeney.
And the fact that we don't have a third, like you said, I think is definitely a problem that we need to address at some point. But the Bills team can. CJ, one thing you dislike.
Can somebody give me the stats on Diggs yesterday or 2 days ago?
Yeah, 4 for 35 and a touchdown.
Yeah, I would. That to me, that's still the one issue I have with the offense in that they're just he's not being featured like he was last year. Now, I'm not saying that is all on the quarterback or on Diggs or whatever like that, but I would still like to see him getting closer to 10 targets, 8 completions, 90 yards. You know what I mean? Like I want to get back to him being that featured guy. I love what Knox is doing. Don't get me wrong. But I think Diggs opens up a lot of that for the rest of the team. So, I just, in a game like that where I thought that he was going to have a big game, I just expected him. Now, it's great that he's getting touchdowns and stuff, and that's something you want to see. But I just think that he's got to be a little bit more involved going down the stretch. And I think he will be, but that was the only thing.
Let me throw a couple quick numbers at you. I'll be fast so it doesn't sound like minutia. So while you're right, he is significantly further behind than he was at the end of last season. He ended last season with 1,535 in yards. He's currently at 1,007. However, his yards per reception are the same. His amount of touchdowns, the same. By and large, he's doing a lot of the same things. I just think that the targets were being moved around a little bit more. He had 128 receptions last year to the 82 he has through this season so far. So I think it's just they adapted their offensive scheme a little bit.
But why?
I still think he's capable of producing. He's still on track to have his second best season ever.
Exactly.
Just Great short of last season. But the reason is I would imagine that safeties are rolling to his side. And if they are, and you're not just going to simply force him the ball in bad situations, especially when the season's where we are right now with it. But when you give him those opportunities, he's making the most of them. And I think other guys are stepping up and those targets are going somewhere else because Josh is by and large on the same trajectory he was last year, give or take a few stats being a little bit different over last year. But overall, the offense is putting up the same kinds of numbers they did last year. Just again, to the eye test, looks a lot different this year.
It's because numbers can lie, right? And so you can have it's the Kirk Cousins rule to me.
Speaking of Kirk, can we?
In that you can have a few big games and it will completely skew your numbers, and I think that's what has happened with the offense. And that's been a definite problem is that the numbers look skewed. CJ, to your point, did you know that the Panthers are I think they were the 6th best passing defense in the league?
They went into the game 2, I believe.
They are very run funnel defense. I know that for a fact, meaning that they kind of play a lot better against the pass than they do the run. So they kind of let the run go a little bit. Yeah.
No, something
would
we're
explain the
familiar with
Singletary
by
effect.
watching the Bills. No, yeah. I mean, I was making the Bills joke. That's all.
Got it.
Got it. So one thing I don't like is that right now it seems like the coaching and the front office are not doing anything. If that makes sense. They seem to be sort of sitting on their laurels and not on the coaching side, we're gonna talk about the coaches later a little bit, but it just doesn't feel, I don't know, the team doesn't feel right still to me, personnel wise, and it just doesn't feel like they're doing things to address those issues. And maybe it's just too late in the season, but I think there are still guys out there who they could probably, whatever, I don't know. So anyway, so moving on, is Cam terrible or is this defense elite?
I think we should make you answer first because you predicted the opposite of this.
The former.
Right? Beginning of the season, Cam was going to
Oh, that's right. You thought Cam was going to light the world on fire.
I didn't think he was going to light the world on fire. I thought he would at least be a competent quarterback.
He's not.
He's not. No, I thought he would get his arm back. Okay, and his past decline.
You think with the time away that all that would recoup itself. I understand in theory what you thought. Absolutely.
You know, I mean, he's a big, strong guy. You know, he always has been.
He's so jacked. Like,
right.
I don't know if you've seen any workout stuff of his lately, but like he's jacked. Like, there's no reason why he can't throw the ball better than he does. Like, it's not a physical.
Well, you got to give some credit. I mean, the fact that he hasn't really had a full year in any system and been able to play, I think has a lot to do with his struggles too. But no, the arm strength is not there. But
it came down to his decisions. He could have been playing.
I mean,
sooner.
that
pass decline.
That was an arm strength.
That was a pass decline. That's the thing. It wasn't an interception. That was a pass decline, right? So
I don't know if he just didn't see him.
I don't know how you couldn't though. Like it was right in his line of sight. And
so
what side of the was it the center of the field or was
Allen?
It was to the left.
And so from what I've always heard for the past 2 years, he's had a lot of struggles reading left. So he's good with the right, but left guys. And I remember this last year in New England, they were always just saying how he couldn't read to the left as well.
Interesting.
Maybe he just needs to go the Jameis route and get LASIK.
Maybe that'll do it.
40-40 vision.
He's throwing darts.
Just on the left side, though.
Right. Just on the left. So he'd be running the first quarter of the season Buffalo Bills offense.
So Paul, is the D elite or no? Because I think we've established that Cam is bad. Right?
The D.
Yeah. So what's the status of the defense?
5. I think they're better than they were last season. However, I think the numbers do tell a little bit of a lie on that front as well, because our secondary is helping a lot and it's masking some of the deficiencies that our D-line is still having, not just in pass rush ability, but in run stuffing. And I think that if you were to separate the two, I think you could say that you have an elite pass defense. Absolutely. Do you have an elite defense though? I'm not too sure about that.
When you say, okay. CJ, what are your thoughts?
I was trying to find the information on Cam throwing to the left. But anyway, thoughts on if the defense is elite? No, the defense is not elite. Dane Jackson is still a liability against good
3 drop picks.
Well, I understand that. Yeah, that's fine. Well, yeah, and exactly, right? So you want him to come down with those multiple situations.
At least one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different.
And I just think that going,
Did have 5 tackles
into the playoffs. Yeah.
physical.
Well, that means they're targeting him, right? So that would mean that
That's
the
fair.
guys that are he's checking are getting open, and then he's making that tackle. So like when I think of fantasy cornerbacks, right? I think about guys who are awful in coverage because they will make a lot of tackles, right? Because the guy will get open and he'll be right there, right? But I just think
So
that
can I just say
You
this real
should have
quick?
charged for that tip, by the way.
nah, that's how I won the fantasy league this year. Oh no, not yet.
You haven't won yet.
It's Nostradamus over here.
So of the top 6 tacklers, 5 of them were the cornerbacks and the safeties.
Well, I think
And
that
that
makes sense because
had a lot to
they
do with
did
the
an
game.
insane amount of DB blitzes.
Yeah, but also the script of the game has a lot to do with that too, right? So if they're up, they're not throwing as much, and because they were down and needed to come back, they're going to throw the ball around.
Okay,
Off the top.
that's fair.
But yeah, no, I think that Cam made them look really good, and I don't want to say that they're obviously not the worst, because they were, losing one guy on a defense that's top 5 is not, it's not going to drop your team into the low 20s. You know what I mean? You're not going to go from a top 5 team to a bottom 10. It's just, honestly, with one guy, it's really not going to happen. But I do think that there is some liabilities out there, especially with losing Trey. That's one of them. And just sometimes, again, I think the guys they get out of their positions a little bit too much at times and overdo it or overreact to a play. But they're getting more continuity, and I think that was huge from what we saw 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think in the linebackers, you're seeing both Milano and Edmonds over pursue at points. Milano a lot less than Edmonds, but
yeah,
Edmonds still seems to be over pursuing. I think one of the Carolina touchdowns was almost a mirror of the touchdown the week before, where Edmonds wasn't responsible for the coverage, but he was out of place, and let the seam appear because he was out of place. And that was an over pursuit thing, and it's happened twice. And I think New England has a very good opportunity to take advantage of that. So Edmonds was on my list. How are we feeling about Frazier and his play calling?
I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with the play calling.
If you're not getting sacks and you're not getting, pressures on the quarterback, if you have to bring a DB in, bring a DB in. I mean, Hyde and Poyer showed that they can rush the edge just like they're a defensive end or an outside linebacker. I mean, a few of those times they were untouched, and Cam missed the coverage on the Teron Johnson sack completely.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's going to work, do it. I mean, how many times have we said that about them across the board?
Well, my thing is, though, like, I don't want to just think of it as here was the Bills against the Panthers, even though that's what we're doing. Well, we are and we aren't. So we already covered it as Bills Panthers, but I don't want to think of it as just Bills Panthers. I want to think of it as, where is the defense at? We've talked about whether they're a leader or not, right? But is the play calling good enough across the board for them to win out?
Good evening, Bob.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it very much. So is the defense good enough to beat the next 3 teams?
I think the defense has never been the question, to be honest with you. Like, me personally, watching the games, I've never felt like the defense is the reason why we were losing. I've always felt like the defense has consistently kept us in games, and the offense just hasn't found the rhythm or, the play, whatever they got to do to get to win the game at the end of the games, kind of. Because there's been a couple games where we haven't finished offensively well. And so I personally, I don't think it's the defense. Yes, they have shown two, I don't know, 1 to 2 plays, 2 to 3 plays out of a game where there's a big play, but outside of that, I'm not that angry. Even you can go back to New England and you can sit there and say, oh well, they got crushed by New England and New England ran all over them. Well, again, it was one huge run that really boosted those stats. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with defense allowing one touchdown from one big play. I have the confidence that the offense should be able to counteract that, like more so than needing the defense to put up the points or to to stop them every time. Because I think the offense should be good enough that we can score whenever we need to, or and that's my thoughts on it. I don't.
Okay. I've had thoughts running in my head about the defense and about Frazier's play calling, and I still don't have it completely formulated. I know I will by the end of the season. And these last 3 games are probably gonna help me formulate the rest of that thought, I guess, would be the best way to say it. Because
So my question I would pose to you then is, on plays where you felt the defense lacked, was it on an individual effort where guys were out of place, or was it a schematic issue where coaching was the reason why that play happened? Because to me, it's the former, right? It's guys not being in the right positions when big plays happen, or taking wrong angles, or go back to any big run and you'll see the safety's taking a bad angle on it, or you'll see
and it may not just be Frazier that I'm going to blame here. I mean, I think there's a Bean element, and again, with the personnel who's here, and that kind of stuff. And I don't know, there's just something formulating in my head about the play calling, and it's not completely formulated, like I said, but it will be, I think, by the end of the season, and where these things go for the Bills from here. So no. Do you have something?
Oh, I mean, I agree with CJ, and I agree with what CJ's saying, but here's what I'll say about the defense: is we've seen both sides. We've also seen conservative play calling and aggressive. And I'll go back to what I was saying about the DB blitzes earlier. Is that isn't the only time they've run those DB blitzes and they worked. They worked against Miami, and they did work against Pittsburgh, even though they lost that game. And I think this goes back to the overall conversation that we keep consistently coming back to, is that there's either a disconnect between McDermott and his coordinators on how he wants the team to run, or they are saying we are good enough to do X, Y, and Z, not be that aggressive, and still win games. And after Jonathan Taylor doing what he did, and then, yes, CJ, they let them only score 14 points, but it was still, you take out that 60-yard run, they're still over 200 yards rushing for that game. And that's not good, and that's not going to win you games on a normal day where they could pass more than 3 times. Because we saw that with Indy. His touchdowns were not just rushing. He did have a passing touchdown as well. And Wentz did do well enough to win them that game. It was on the back of Jonathan Taylor, but he still needed to complete the passes when he did, and he did. We let Mac Jones be what he was, but we still let them run like crazy. Now that's not going to happen this Sunday, but I think it could. Who knows? But there seems to be something here with the players and the coaches and the coordinators where it's like they don't know who they want to be each week. Like, they don't know.
I think it's because they're trying to be somebody different each week, is I think what I keep seeing come up on film.
Yeah, I agree with that. they don't have a team identity really. I mean, you
And
can't
maybe
sit
that's
here
my
and
problem.
say
Maybe that's my problem is I just don't see the consistency either as far as I mean, I don't think I need to repeat what you said, but I think that's definitely part of it is identity and seeing the players feel like they're playing cohesively. So I think that kind of goes back maybe to what you were saying, CJ, just in the sense of them being out of place or in position or out of position and that kind of thing. So it just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like everyone's like dancing in step, to the same beat or something. And there's just something strange, like I said, between the personnel, the way that they're playing defense and what they're trying to do. Something's bothering me and we'll get there. Hi grandma. Hi mom.
This is a matchup league, right? Like all the best teams know how to game plan specific to what you feel the opposition is going to do against you, both offensively and defensively. So I understand that there's some variation from week to week in what you're going to call, the looks you're going to present, because you want to take away somebody's strengths and you want to force them to go to their weakness. And I think that somewhere along the lines this season, the Buffalo Bills defensive staff need to just go with what works. Like we gotta, and offensively too. The same thing needs to be said for Brian Dable. And
that's what I was gonna say. Like it's the exact same thing with the offense. It
really is. They're like last year, who you were in week 1 was who you were at the end of the season in week 17, by and large. I mean, fluctuations, gameplay related. Maybe one week we went with a certain pass concept because we knew that it could beat their cover 2 shell, whatever the case may be. But I think this season, like we've gotten away from that. And it's almost like we're going to let whoever we're playing dictate what we're going to do instead of vice versa. And it comes off that way on film. And in some of our worst losses this season, it's because we didn't recognize that early in the game. Like, stop playing into their hands and let's just be us, right? We saw in the Tampa Bay game them actually finally do that for the first time. We came up short in the Tampa Bay game, but in the second half of that game, we said, you know what? F this. We're just going to play our style of football and see where it takes us. And they almost pulled out the victory. That's what you need to do the rest of the season. Point blank.
Well said. So, next topic, please.
Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis.
I didn't bring him up in my favorite things for this reason.
Smart.
Yep. Go ahead, Paul.
Gabe Davis.
You're on the clock, though.
What can we say about Gabe Davis that I haven't already been screaming from the rooftops? I am not worried about wide receiver 2 heading into 2022 because he's already been on the roster. We brought in veteran leadership in Emmanuel Sanders, which was needed. We lost John Brown to free agency. You bring in Emmanuel Sanders. It makes sense. I understand it completely. However, I don't think there's any doubting at this point in 2 seasons that Gabriel Davis has shown all of us that he can be trusted in that wide receiver 2 role. Josh trusts him enough to go at him on a 4th and 4 against the defending Super Bowl champs to try to win the game. You don't throw the ball to that receiver in that position during that point in the game unless your trust in him is second to dang near anyone that's not named Stephon Diggs. And I think that's exactly where we're at right now. And because of those reasons, Gabe Davis, wide receiver 2.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I've been also chanting with Paul from the rooftops, free Gabe Davis all season.
Well, I think we all have, but free Gabe Davis to me means something different maybe than free Gabe Davis means to you. And how do I say this politely? I don't think he's wide receiver 2 yet. I just don't.
I'll give him this. He seems to make the catches when they're put into tight spots, right? And that's huge.
When's the last time he didn't in that moment?
This is my point. And I think that that goes a long way with trust and giving him more opportunities. I mean, yeah, I'm not convinced 100% yet, similar to Todd, but at the same time, you come out the next 3 weeks and continue to make plays like you did yesterday or 2 days ago, and I'm gonna be right there with you and saying that we don't need another guy, and we're good with who we have.
That's fair. Let me phrase it to both of you this way, Todd and CJ. What is it that Gabriel Davis would need to do throughout the rest of this season for you not to bring in yet another guy that is going to take targets away from him? I understand the idea of bringing in another wide receiver in the offseason, much like we did Emmanuel Sanders last year, right? Like another 1-year receiver to bridge that gap. But then you're on year 4 of this rookie deal by the time that year 3 ends. Like next season will come around, we'll have X receiver that we bring in that's taking wide receiver 2 reps, and then you're 3 out of 4 years done with his rookie deal. At what point do you say that guy is already on our roster? There's no need to go out and get that. What does he need to do for you guys to be to that point?
Look,
I don't want to replace him. Like I don't
not replace him, but if you bring in someone like, somebody like
because question, if we get rid of Beasley, if we get rid of Beasley and Sanders, obviously, then who is your third wide receiver in that situation?
That's exactly my point. I think they're getting rid of Beasley and Sanders.
And so I'm not saying I want whoever they bring in to play over Davis, right? I don't think. I mean, considering how he plays the rest of the year, I guess, at the end of the season, we can come back to this. But yeah, I just feel like, we're going to need another one regardless. In my view, maybe we keep Beasley. And if so, then, then I can't really say that.
If they keep Beasley, then Davis is wide receiver 2. Yeah. I mean, and I'm fine with
Beasley's
that.
Slot.
Beasley's a slot receiver, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what I don't want to happen is for there to be Davis and then your next guy to be McKenzie.
That's what I don't want either.
So I guess
Isaiah
I agree.
Do we
or Hodgins, right?
No,
or whoever.
Do we think Davis could play slot? Like let's say Sanders and Beasley both go out and we bring in somebody like Cooks, right? And so we have Cooks and we have Diggs on the outside. You're gonna relegate Gabe Davis to slot receiver. I just
how often did they play Diggs at slot last year? They put him at slot quite often.
They moved him around a lot. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can move these guys.
Move them all around. Yeah,
like throw Diggs in the slot just to.
And if you have, Cooks has been in the league for 8 years now, 7 years. Again, he's a receiver. He has hands of
magnets.
Magnet. Yeah. I mean,
I'm tired.
I'm going to do something I normally don't do. I'm going to reverse my position and say this. If it does not result in Gabe Davis losing a substantial amount of targets to the point where we're screaming free Gabe Davis in week 2 of the next year, then I'm all aboard. If we lose both of those pieces, bringing in somebody like Cooks. If it's going to result in Gabe Davis not seeing the field all over again for the 3rd season, I don't know that I could, but that is the case. I'm on board.
I think because they play 3 receiver sets so often, that's I guess why I'm thinking the difference between wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 really is irrelevant.
Kind of no, yeah,
right. And because they play the 3 receiver set, I'm like, you need 3 receivers, and I'm fine with Davis being one of those 3. And obviously Diggs should be another one. But if they're getting rid of Beasley and Sanders, you need another one at that level, right? I mean, look at the Rams. Once they lost Robert Woods, they were lucky enough to have Beckham there, right? And be able to put him in. But if they had Beckham, I mean, and had all 3 of those guys, I mean, they're lucky enough that Van Jefferson has played out of his mind since, or what's his name?
Yeah, Van Jefferson.
Okay, Van Jefferson has played out of his No, I thought I was talking about Pittman for a second, but that Jefferson has played out of his mind since Woods went down. But I mean, they weren't bringing Beckham in because Woods got hurt. They brought Beckham in to say, man, we're putting these 3 guys together. And I mean, that's just what I see as being a possibility. And it doesn't have to be Brandon Cooks. It's just I like Brandon Cooks because I just do. He's another guy you can move around. And yeah, he's a little more on the short side, but yeah.
Getting rid of Beasley, you need another short guy.
Yeah,
you need another Smurf. Yeah, like
I guess
you really do. Which is why I'm hoping that either McKenzie, or if McKenzie isn't working in the slot this weekend with Beasley out of the game, then they throw Stevenson in there and see what Stevenson can do in the slot. Like I'm open to seeing.
I mean,
yeah, let's see. Like what do you have to lose at that point? But I don't want it to so grossly affect the game plan that it changes what you want to do against this Patriots defense. Like, I don't want you to try to like move things around and figure out how to best supplement Beasley not being on the field, because for a large part of this season, he's not really been showing up in the same way he did last season. I think he ranks something like 47th out of 52 qualified receivers. I don't know that we'll really miss him that much this weekend. And I know that's probably harsh in the current climate with what's going on with him, but I don't know that the Bills' offense is going to like struggle.
I would like to see Sanders back.
We'll miss him in that moment where we need someone to be 5'9" and catch the ball on the ground, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see Sanders back, just as a comfort level. I mean, again, is great as Davis has been or could be, if Diggs turns an ankle, right,
gosh,
this weekend, if Diggs
stop.
I mean, I'm just saying
you're gonna speak it into existence,
right?
And
I mean, seriously though, I mean,
it's a valid point though.
One of the things that the Bills need to do and continue and did that I appreciated in this offseason by bringing Sanders in was have the depth, right? That if a guy went down, you could still say that's a pretty good receiving core, and now you have Beasley out and Sanders out, and now you're looking at McKenzie, Davis, dear God, Stevenson, Kumaro.
I don't think Stevenson's going to see the field.
I don't think so.
I don't think he'll see any offensive snaps.
Yeah,
I do, however, think he's going to get all of the return, return duties this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and we'll see Kumaro on the field more than just for running plays, I think.
How fitting is it that Touchdown Jesus is going to be on the field the day after Christmas? Though? I mean,
I was the one who tweeted that out, so I
saw
think
it.
He's going to have the big game. I think. He's going to
go 1 for 1 for one touchdown again. His Bills career is going to be 2 for 2 for 2 touchdowns by the end of this season.
Perfect.
Didn't Josh Allen also call him Touchdown Jesus? Or am I like imagining things? Yeah, you did. Okay.
You did.
Amazing.
So on to the Patriots, because I think that's where we go now. Foxborough. I haven't looked at a weather report yet, but it's probably going to follow whatever we get, which
15 to 20 mile an hour winds.
Okay, that's not much.
Not 50 mile an hour
running the ball 87,000 times this time, buddy.
Yeah, you got to throw some ducks to our defensive backs, Mac. I mean, McCorkle.
They still could. That's the thing. I mean,
they don't have any wide receivers, so they very well may.
It depends on if Harris is back as well. I mean, Harris went out during the game too. So, I mean, they could be very shorthanded, but so could the Bills because they're still.
We don't know what happens between now and Sunday.
Right.
There's a lot.
Speak anything into existence, but it's a lot of time.
Yeah. It's a lot of time.
And there's some pictures floating around the interwebs that are scaring the bejesus out of me right now.
Yep. And to be fair, they're clean. They're
clean images. We're talking about images of people that were in close proximity to each other that could transmit a contagious virus, and that is it. That's all.
No, it was Beasley's wife with Allen's girlfriend, and
cheek to cheek,
yeah, very close.
These cheeks settle down.
Yeah, and so we know that they were in close proximity of each other, which makes you worry about Allen,
which probably means they were all in the wife's box, which means they were with everybody else's wife. So,
yeah, and then makes you worry about
sleep over at the facility all week. Let's go.
So right now
sleep in the weight room.
Right now, you tell Mitch Trubisky to go 40 or 50 miles away.
No, he's in fucking Pennsylvania.
That's what
he's in
said.
Pittsburgh. Like you're keeping him in a nice hotel. Like
what is good news? I say this. I say it's good news, but it's really not good news. So the science has showed us that immediately preceding infection of COVID-19, there's like this 60-day window that exists in which your natural immunity from having the disease makes you substantially less likely to get another infection until after like that 60-day window passes and your antibody levels return back to like a lowered state. Not quite where they were pre-infection, but he's probably one of the safest people on the team because of that 60-day window. When Feliciano comes back, he'll be pretty good throughout the playoffs. And it's not a guarantee that you're not going to get it again.
Feliciano, though, he walked into the ER Sunday morning with pretty bad symptoms, they said, and based upon his tweet today, he doesn't seem to be better. He just seems to be angry.
He took antibodies. He seems to be angry. And that kind of brings me to bringing a topic full circle about the culture of the team right now. I think that having a winning season to the extent we had last year, and then coupling the division that undoubtedly exists in that locker room, even if it's not public knowledge, like there's no way that 53 men with different opinions on something haven't had discussions where they've gotten a little bit heated. Like, hey, I don't want you to get me sick kind of deal. Like those conversations have to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And if they did, I wonder what kind of effect riding that high that we're no longer the underdogs, coupled with this inner tension. I won't even call it infighting necessarily, but this inner tension that it exists. If I'm Deion Dawkins and I was hospitalized and there's people like Cole Beasley going on Instagram right now saying, oh, well, it's not the virus that's keeping me out of this game. It's the rules when you tested positive. Like, I don't know how I'd feel about that as a player. I'm not going to try to know how Deion Dawkins feels about that, but I don't think it should come to a shock to any of us to know that there's probably a little bit of tension that exists in every locker room around the league.
Oh, definitely. I think that's definitely true. And there's that's where good coaches have to figure out how to rise your team above that and get them together, because your coach is your leader. Right? You have players as leaders and all of that, but in the end, your coach is your general, and you have to get your team aligned and say, hey, let's concentrate on football. And
I think
they appear to have no, I don't know how I feel about that, but they appear
I'll give
to
you
have
my reason when you're done.
They appear to have no issue with the players tweeting or anything like that.
Yes.
At least tweeting their negative thoughts. Haven't seen a player tweet something positive about COVID, but
what is there positive to say about it?
Hey, get back.
You get a compliment over it? No, I know. Yeah, okay. Fair point.
Have you seen a player
vaccine? Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't.
That's true. The
not,
one
not on the Bills
commercial that plays in the stadium is from Bruce Smith.
Right.
Yeah. Bruce Smith, and then Baker Mayfield has gone on record.
Right.
Plenty of players across the league have gone.
I'm saying
nobody
from
on
the
Bills.
From the Bills,
Nobody.
and the Bills coaching staff seems to have no problem with the players. And
what I will say, in defense of McDermott and this whole COVID vaccine situation, is that his messaging must have had some effect. And I'm not absolving him of the, hey, don't let your players be fighting with fans on Twitter over a public health emergency. But at the same time, Jordan Poyer is now vaccinated. I don't think that happens accidentally, not with the people he's got in his inner circle. So that directive came from somewhere, and it was either inside that locker room or it had something to do with McDermott. It didn't come from the people in his home.
Well, it could have come from the rules. I mean, maybe he's smarter than we give him credit for. I mean, who knows? You just don't know in the end when it comes to that. So what do the Bills do to beat the Patriots or vice versa. What do the Bills do to not lose to the Patriots?
Score more points than the Patriots do.
Thank you,
Good answer.
Paul.
Okay,
No,
CJ,
he starts off.
CJ, go ahead.
Again, I think this game is going to come down to how the O-line holds up. And it's been a consistent thing for over the past, I don't know, the whole season. Whether they're going to play to a level that's going to allow us to win. And if they don't, then unfortunately, we're not going to be able to pull it out. And with all those guys being hurt, it doesn't bode well for that. But at the same time, you know, you still have confidence going in after what happened with the Patriots last week in Indy. I think this is a game now where you want to come in, you want to play them after they lost like that to Indy. I think that's the time you want to come in and play the Patriots. Let's kick them while they're down, you know. And I think that's the mentality that we need to have. And again, there's so much riding on this game that I just hope that our guys come out and play to their best ability. And I'm sure that's their mind state, but at the same time, I hope everybody understands what's at stake here and how much this game will mean to the fans. And I just think that, you know, this if we can come out, pull a win, just like the Patriots said, this will be a win that they'll never forget over the next 15 years. You know, not the weather, not none of that, but beating the Patriots, that'll be huge.
I am right there with you, CJ. Win by any means necessary. I don't care if it's by 1 point. Like, do what you need to do to win this game. If you have to scratch and claw your way to this victory and it's a dogfight until the very end, fine. I don't know if my heart will be able to take it, but if it results in a win, I'll take a heart attack. I don't really care. Go win this game, win the AFC East, and get into the playoffs. I mean, just do whatever you need to do to win this game, because you're going to be down. And I'm right there with you with the offensive line. They held up barely against Carolina. I mean, Carolina was in there a couple times. I think they might have gotten a sack.
They're good. Oh,
Burns is good. You know,
and
he was the one that got the sack. You know, or one
that Patriots defensive line is no joke. You know,
Gross Matos,
you know, it's so funny that you brought that up about the D line, and I just think that it's interesting because when we were talking about earlier, just about defense and just the Bills specifically and how they haven't gotten right, and we're all just saying how they're a little bit like they're trying new stuff, and I think the difference between our defense and the New England defense is they know what they're doing. There is no trying something new to figure out what guy fits where. They pretty much got that down. And that's the difference between us and them, is we are still, for some reason, trying to figure out what, how do I phrase this? What plays or what positioning to put players in to make the most impact. And I don't think we're there yet, but I do think that New England is pretty much there.
They try to fit the players into the scheme, they try to make the scheme work for the players versus just putting the players in the scheme. And I completely agree with you, because you look at the players that they brought in. You know, Kyle Van Noy was already there, but this is a different defense from what he played. They brought in Matthew Judon. You know, they have Christian Barrymore, who's a rookie. They plugged in new players on that entire defense and said, you're going to fit into the scheme or you're not going to play. I mean, they got rid of Gilmore, you know. I mean, the McCourties have been there for forever as well. And I think they're one of the best, probably DB tandems, right up there with Poyer and Hyde, especially when they were really good.
Are they both still there?
Devin is still really good. I think, is Devin the one that's always been there, or is Jason the one that's always been there? I think Jason's always been there. He's still really good.
Yeah, well, they have McCourty back there. I mean, Duggar's going to be playing in this game.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to think about now. But I'm right there with you, CJ. Belichick plugs his players into the scheme. The Bills are still looking how to make the scheme work for the players. And you know who that also reminds me of is Rex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jason McCourty went to the Dolphins, by the way.
Okay, so Devin. So I was right on Devin. All right.
Yeah, you were.
Good. But yeah, he's a beast though. He's just I just think that again, his position in that defense hasn't really changed very much over the years, and so the continuity of being that guy and playing that position that he's played within that defense is just been. He just gets better. Like I don't know, it's weird. He's one of the guys I really don't hate on the Patriots, to be honest.
Yeah. So if you're the Bills offense,
he's like a player's player.
So if you're the Bills offense, how do you counteract that? I mean, to me, you have to play the best football you've played all year.
You have to execute. Or you have to get good plays, or you have to pound. You have to pound the ball and actually get yards. Period. You have to get yards, whether it's through running or passing. To be honest, I mean, you need to. Goes back to the offensive line. I mean, that's what it does.
I'm sorry to say, but it's going to be the deciding factor in the game. And I mean, I think we all know that. As much as we don't want to say that, like that's going to be the case. I
think you guys have talked that point enough. So I want to go a different route. I want to echo something that I heard Harrison Phillips say earlier this week in one of his pressers. Sounds like McDermott and a whole heck of a lot of that roster were watching that Patriots game and saw them lose in the fashion that they did. And Harrison Phillips said, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is more or less what he said. We saw what it takes to beat them, and you have to get up early. That tells me that this is only going to go one of two ways. Either you're going to get up early, or we're all going to be sitting here with a minute and some seconds in the fourth quarter, and it's going to be a close game, and we're going to be biting our nails when the New England Patriots literally have nobody to throw the ball to, and they should not be in this game, period. So if you're going to win this game, I don't care what the offensive line looks like. I don't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? True story. They started a mantra about 4 months ago heading into this season that has never been more true than it's going to be in this game. And Noah, you alluded to it. CJ, you kind of did too. I think you all actually have alluded to this to some level, but not these exact words, which is what they've been preaching since training camp. And that's find a way. I don't care who's on that offensive line. I don't care who is available in our wide receiving core. I don't care who else gets put on the COVID list this weekend. Like, I don't care. All I care about is one thing. You get that W. And like Noah said, you have to do it by any means necessary. But in order to do that, in order to have your best opportunity to walk away with a win and the lead in the division, is you need to go up on this team early, because Mac Jones will not be able to go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen if it comes to a shootout. It's not happening. You get up 14-0 in the first quarter, say goodnight, because they're going to become so one-dimensional. Your defense is going to feast. If we don't get up early, it's going to be a long game.
How is your defense going to feast on a guy who gets rid of the ball as fast as Jones?
Because he's going to have to push the ball downfield if he gets down more than 2 scores. You're not going to be able to dink and dunk your way down the field if Josh Allen and that offense are just firing on all cylinders and scoring drive after drive after drive. You keep the pressure on, and you don't let Mac Jones play his game. You force him to become one-dimensional and force the ball down the field, and your defensive backs feast. Period.
I think the Patriots are
no offense, Paul. The part that you're missing is time. You're making them speed up when they're a slow-moving team that holds onto the ball. That's what you're doing by getting up early.
Yeah,
I think that's what Paul's trying to say, is that if you're getting up early, you're forcing them to go fast.
True.
And that's not something they've shown that they can do.
That's not their offense. 100%. Nope. You're right. And I just also think that given Mac Jones's limitations, when you exacerbate those limitations by making him throw more often, I think then you put him in a position to make mistakes. And that's what we saw in that Indy game, right? He had to throw more. And I think, did he throw his first 2 interceptions that he's ever thrown, which is pretty incredible for a quarterback. But at the same time, it just shows you how they're protecting him from making those mistakes.
Very much so.
Right. And so if you can get them to put a little bit more on his shoulders, that'd be ideal for me.
Fast start. The last few weeks, the Buffalo Bills offense has not started fast. That crap continues. It's going to be a dogfight. You come out swinging, you throw your best punches in that first quarter, and you try to get up 2+ scores. You do that, it's going to be a cakewalk for the rest of the game. You don't do that, and it's going to be another one of those games where Buffalo in its entirety is going to be holding our breaths until the clock expires. And it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Because there's no excuse. Because if you put them behind, they have no wide receivers to throw to. They're not going to be able to run the ball because it'll eat up too much clock. They're going to have to push the ball. And like, what are they going to do? That's got to be the game plan. You go out throwing your best punches of the season in that first quarter.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's the case. I mean, but again, I'll come at it from the
offensive line is going to.
Well, I'll come at it from the other side, though. The Patriots are smart enough, and not enough teams are smart. But we know the Patriots are smart, right? And the Patriots are smart enough to continue to run the ball if they get down by 2 scores. I truly think that. So if Damian Harris comes back and they do the 2-headed horse of Harris and Stevenson and really just try to push the ball down the Bills' throat, the Bills better be ready to stop it. And I mean, if I'm the Patriots, I'm just going to sit there and say, we're doing it until you can prove you can't. You know, and I mean, we're talking about protecting Mac Jones. That's how you protect Mac Jones. I mean, Noah joked earlier that he's not going to throw 3 passes again because the weather's going to be better. But if I'm New England, that's my goal.
Yeah, I would too. I agree.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for this game, that might be the move. But if that's your plan as an organization heading into the playoffs, should you get there, you're not going to go far.
No,
that's not the plan. I'm talking about their plan.
Yeah, you're talking about this game. And that's why I said, I know that you're talking about this game, but if you, and then I was talking about them. I fully heard you. I gave you the credit where it was due.
Yeah. So no, I totally agree with, what Todd said. They would love to do that. That would be ideal for them. They would love to just run 3 times and win that game easily. And, it's going to be up to the Bills to make that not the case, right? So they're going to have to get to them. They're going to have to make them pass, and they're going to have to score. And that's huge. And so I think that's what it'll come down to. And we score, the offensive line holds up, because obviously those are synonymous, right? Offensive line holding up and then scoring, to me, with this Bills team goes hand in hand. When the line holds up, we score. The line don't hold up, we're punting. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what it's going to come down to. Yeah, I agree. I think they don't want to. That's the best way to protect them would be by throwing the least amount as possible. But again, it's just going to be that kind of game. So we'll see what happens when we get there. I think that'll be, I'm just excited regardless. I think it's going to be, one of the best games of the season. So
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's a shame they didn't flex it, because name better game.
Can they still do that? Can they still do it? Miami, New Orleans. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Miami, New Orleans. That's all I'm going to say. Miami, New Orleans.
2 teams that might not even make the playoffs.
Like,
oh my God.
Well, the Browns and the Packers is okay at least.
I mean, the Minnesota Bears game, give me a break. And then you're telling me you're gonna do that again next Monday? It blows my mind.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Well, sorry to get off topic.
No, topic is fine.
So we want to give some score predictions, or you got some stuff you want to? I think you had some stuff to say. I
did. You want to give me the time to say it?
I do.
Look at your son, being a good son.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring up real quick was so for the Peach Bowl is Pittsburgh and College. The Peach Bowl is one of the New Year's Day 6, and Michigan State and Pittsburgh were both good enough teams to make it to the game, and now they're the 2 best players, Kenneth Walker Jr. or the third, Kenneth Walker the third, and
I like that meme of the guy from the game who just goes like,
"Oh, okay."
He's memeing. Don't worry about him.
All right. So, Kenneth Walker the third, who is the very dynamic future Bill running back.
Yes,
from Michigan.
Speaking
State,
into existence. Thank you.
State, and Kenny Pickett, who's considered the number 1 quarterback in this weak quarterback class this year, who played at Pitt, have both said they're not playing because they're preparing themselves for the combine, which is laughable to me. We know why they're not playing. and it has nothing to do with the combine. We know that.
I mean, it does a little bit.
Does not, and there's no one. It has 0% to do. When is the combine? March. You have
but what if they like tore their ACL in the game?
Exactly. That's why they're not playing. It has nothing to do with the combine.
Yeah,
but
it has to do with their draft status.
Yeah, but if they tore their ACL and couldn't compete in the
what
combine,
if they tore their ACL at the combine?
There are plenty of players that have not even done anything at the combine and still got drafted high. So that's irrelevant. What
I think
that's
I also
a line of BS.
I also have to say that, there's a lot of weight. Now, me personally, I think these bowl games are a joke, and I don't know if I'm going to watch any of them, but maybe for the future Bills running back, I will. But I just think the way that the playoffs are set up,
he's not playing.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, my point is just okay. My point is just that I just think that a lot of guys, they want their resume to reflect what they did in the season. If they felt like they had a good enough season, they don't want to go into a bowl game where they have a chance of not playing as well or not doing as well, and then say their stock tanks because of that. Because we've seen it happen, and I think that has to be going through their heads also. Injury is a big deal too. Guys don't want to get hurt, but I also think guys don't want to not play well on that stage, because then you're dropping a lot in the draft, and your stock takes a hit if you don't come out on that stage and play well. And so it's kind of the opposite of what you want your starting, or you want guys on your team, right? You don't want guys on your team who are trying to get out of things. You want guys who will play, go through a wall, do whatever they have to do to get on that field, right? So it's a question of whether that hurts them more or it helps them more. But it's I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about that poor performance in the bowl game, and that's a really, really good point. All I could think about was injury. The only way that I could see this getting resolved in any way, like some people were like, don't allow them to participate in the combine. It's like the NFL is not going to touch this. Like, people don't realize the NFL and the NCAA are two completely different corporations, and probably two of the largest corporations in the world. And
multi-billion-dollar nonprofit.
Right. But like, either the NCAA needs to expand the playoffs so that these games mean more. Because you don't see Alabama players pulling out. You don't see Cincinnati players pulling out, Georgia. You know what I mean? Or Georgia. And I mean, guys from Georgia there's like 18 guys from their 22 starters who are projected to go in the draft. I mean, and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's like you either got to expand the playoffs or you got to pay the players. And
that was my point about just it not being interesting, is these bowl games, just because of the exclusions and how the playoffs are set up, they don't put good games on the field for those bowls. And that's kind of what I was trying to say, but yeah, keep going.
Oh, that was it. That was my point. I mean, those are the two solutions that I see. I don't know if anyone else.
I agree.
I don't have solutions. I guess here's my quick 2 cents on it, is that as a player, especially if you've been with the same guys, that you've been a freshman, sophomore, junior, now you're a senior with these guys, and you've gone to war with them for 4 years in a row. And yes, but my point being, you ride with these guys all season long, year in and year out, and in your last game of your collegiate career,
you're like, peace out.
You're thinking more about you than the other 52 guys that are depending on you.
Say. If I had a multi-million-dollar contract coming my way, and if like I had people in my ear going, well, you could, lose that by playing in this game that doesn't mean anything, I'm going.
It means something for your school. It means something for your teammates. It means something for your coach.
From a personal perspective, I understand it, right? Yeah. So from a personal standpoint, but again, when you're drafting players, a big thing about is locker room. Like, a big thing about that is locker room fit, right? And so it goes both ways. From a personal standpoint, obviously these guys have just went through at least 3 years of being exploited. You know what I mean? And that's putting it nicely. So
I guess the answer is to pay them.
Yeah, and then they'll be there.
Like, hey,
then they'll
you don't want to
there.
be to the bowl game? Cool, you're out X.
10 grand or 20 grand, whatever. Yeah, exactly.
But that would just tell me that like that confirms for me that it's a money thing. It's not a respect thing. It's not a competitive thing. It's not honoring your commitments to your teammate. It's about the money. And from a personal perspective, like CJ said, I get it. Everybody go get yours. I get it entirely. But I would rather have someone on my team that made the decision to go ahead and play. And like, I would just have more respect for that player as a teammate, as a coach, like as in anything. I would just have more respect for somebody that was going to say, you know what?
Okay, what player in the past 5 years has dramatically hurt their draft stock that you can remember by sitting out of a bowl?
By sitting out of a bowl?
I was going to say, I've heard people that playing in a bowl have lost, have gone down a little bit. But
when have you heard of a player who's sat out of a bowl and it's hurt their draft stock?
I guess I'm struggling to remember people that have sat out of the bowl for reasons that weren't medical. I'm struggling to find a high-profile name that I could say, "Oh yeah, that guy sat out. Nothing happened to his draft."
There was a quarterback a few years ago.
Who?
Yeah. And
like, if we could remember, then I'd be like, yeah. But like, nobody can even come up with a name right now. And I think that kind of is what my point is right now. Is that
also leads into my next point that in the NFL, college doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. Your intangibles matter. Your physical abilities matter. If you would have looked at Josh Allen, it's low-hanging fruit. I get it. I'm only making this comparison because it's the easiest for Buffalo sports fans to digest. I promise. So, Josh Allen, if you would have based his draft stock strictly on whether or not he succeeded at the collegiate level, he would not have gone in the first 3 rounds. It's because of all the other things, the physical ability, the intangibles, the leadership. That's what got him drafted in the first round. He went to a small school, didn't put up huge numbers, threw a lot of picks, had inconsistency issues. He was literally the definition of a project quarterback. You drafted him in the first round because of the type of person he was, and you drafted him in the first round because of his physical abilities. You didn't draft him in the first. Like, if Josh Allen would have sat out of a bowl game, you would have called his competitive spirit into question. You've been like, is this the kind of person that we want leading this team? And therein lies my overall point, is that it's way more than the stat line you put up in college. It is like, we've seen guys put up huge numbers in college and do absolute dog crap in the pros. We've seen guys do dog crap in the collegiate level and then tear it up in the pros. Like, this is just how it goes. There's so much parity between the leagues because of how different they operate and how different they put together offenses and defenses. So for me, I know that the risk is there to lose money. And I get that. And I get that. I just think that there's things that are way more priceless than that.
Okay, so we'll go back to, I'm sorry, but Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette both sat out of their bowl games. That was 16, I think. Could be wrong.
And where was Christian McCaffrey drafted?
No, I'm proving your point.
He's just throwing the names out there. That's it.
Derwin James, 2017, again, drafted first round. Royce Freeman, don't know when he was drafted. He's still around, though. So, yeah, I mean, as far as I'm reading the big names, obviously the big names are going to stick out because they've played well in the NFL. Hard to really say, which guys – it's just tough, right? Because if you say, okay, which guys lost out because they didn't play – we're not going to know because they weren't really that good in the NFL probably anyways, right? So, but if they were good, no, but that's what I'm saying. But if they were good, then we're going to know it, and then we're going to be like, oh, well, they sat out and they're fine. So, I don't know. It's still tough. I was just found a couple names. Those are pretty big names, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking at it right now. There's 10 players who have declared they're skipping out just this season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do we know how many in previous seasons? Do we have that information available?
I was trying to look. Yeah,
I got it somewhere. 2021 opt-out tracker. All right, here you go.
Oh, there we go. I see it now.
It's
Another
not a lot of information though. It's like I don't want to sit here and be looking on the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking honestly, like I don't know if the COVID had a lot to a ton. Yeah,
a ton.
A lot.
That's true. COVID might have skewed that, because all the seniors could come back.
Yeah.
You know,
I just found the one that completely ends the conversation. Kyle Pitts sat out last season.
How does that end?
The bowl game last season, and then got drafted high and is balling out.
Is balling out?
Well,
okay. Do you watch that? Have you watched him play?
Okay, let me clarify.
He's
not putting up he's not putting up
rookie of the
stupid
year
numbers.
Okay,
no, not offensive rookie of the year.
Drafted 8th.
Bad phrasing on my part.
Derwin James is like top 15.
He's had moments where he's flashed.
Leonard Fournette
he definitely looks like
Leonard Fournette won.
Right.
Okay. All right.
I mean, here's what I'll say. All right, I don't agree with you guys. Like, I don't think it's that big of an issue because it's what I said. Go get your bag. Who cares? I understand what you're saying, and I get it. Why people would want these players to stay. It would make the games better, honestly. I mean, but at the same time, being this to me, when you are this close to something you have worked your entire life for. And there's a potential that if you play in this game and you get hit the wrong way, you twist your leg the wrong way, like you break your arm falling weird. Like, why? To me, I'm not taking that chance. Like, cool, I was with my teammates all year. Yep, I love you guys. Thank you for getting me to this point. I'll remember you when I'm making millions in the NFL, and I'll make sure to shout you out in my post-game or my post-draft presser. Like,
and I get that.
That's what I'm saying.
But for some of the fringe players on college football rosters, and let's just talk
two SMU receivers, like where are they? Are sitting out this season for are sitting out of the bowl game. Like, what is that? What is that purpose? Like, truly.
Yeah. I think it's a small part of the bigger thing, which is the less important I think college football has been over the past 10 years to drafting and to developing and to, you know what I mean? It's the way it used to be is not like it is now, where guys are doing this was not heard of really even 10 years ago, because it was all, you're all about the team and you stay in line and you do kind of what the team tells you to do. And that will translate to you doing the same thing in the NFL. I don't think the NFL necessarily views it like that anymore. And I think the NFL has to realize what is going on at a collegiate level with players and them being taken advantage of. And I think that, this was inevitable, just guys trying to get theirs. You know what I mean? And I think that is where we're at. And I think the NFL doesn't look as badly on that as they did 10 years ago for a variety of reasons. You know what I'm saying? Everything from players not getting paid to some guys, don't fit in certain teams and play better in the NFL, whatever that might be. But I just think that it's more indicative of what the times are compared to where we were maybe even 10 years ago.
I think that's fair.
If my son makes it to college, to college level with football, and he was getting ready to play in his senior season and they got to a bowl game and he tried to opt out, as his father, I wouldn't like that.
See, I'm not of that though. Like, I hear you. And I respect that, but at the same time, as a father, I would probably tell my son after playing for 3 years and giving his heart
that bag so I can get a house. Thanks.
Like, and I not even for my
Finish
personal
what you start is my whole thing.
I'm just joking. I hear you. But I don't know. If I'm being honest, I'm not gonna. If he don't want to play, if he doesn't want to, if he's sitting there saying like, Dad, I just feel like this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. I'm gonna be like,
what about your wide receiver 3, Johnny, that might not even make the NFL unless he has the game of his life tonight, and he's not gonna do it if you're not Yeah, but if he's let's assume he's the quarterback.
No, he's a quarterback.
Like, how is
Paul's son
how
gonna be a quarterback?
Oh,
yeah, that's why, yeah, right?
Oh,
Clearly. He says he
You
wants to be
didn't
like
know
Stephon
that?
Diggs, but he's totally going to be a quarterback. No, for the purposes of this discussion, he's a quarterback.
Yeah.
But like, I just it strikes a nerve with me just from what's the best way to phrase this?
yeah,
Just, like,
we
from
understand. You're a good guy, Paul.
but I just
right?
You got strong
Like, I can't
morals.
say-
I
Like, I can't
personally
do it,
I
yeah.
hate the NCAA and I hate what they're doing and I hate how they take advantage of players and I hate
The
that.
only way you get players to stay is by paying them,
by
and that's
paying
not
them.
going
Yeah.
to happen.
And
No.
expanding the playoffs.
You can't though, because you'll still have kids sitting out because you can't expand the playoffs to include every single team.
No, but if you expand it, I understand. Kenny Pickett is not
Make it yeah.
is not.
They finished 16th, so
I
you're
know.
telling me that they're going to expand the playoffs
no,
all the way to there?
No. I'm saying Kenny Pickett is not the perfect example, but Michigan State could have made it, right? If they expanded
to 12.
to 12. Okay, so if they won one more game and expanded to 8, then Michigan State could have made it.
They beat Ohio State.
Right. So I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, just the only way you fix this is by playing those by paying the players, and that's just not going to happen. So you're gonna have this until the end of time. And the reason why now, going back to your point, CJ, where you said that the NFL doesn't care about this anymore, it's because these players are so good where it doesn't matter. I mean, It used to be there were your Christian McCaffreys, your guys at the top of the draft, and then you're kind of guessing. Now you can probably go to round 3 and be like, I'm getting a solid guy in each round who might be able to play for me this year.
Yeah.
Unless your name is Cody Ford, and that is the only exception to Noah's rule.
It's
Shoot
the
him to the
parity
sun.
that's becoming the NFL now. The talent spread out. You're getting more talent just across the NFL period, where teams are going, I would rather be on the path to a Super Bowl than care about what this kid did in college, as long as he's not a jerk.
Yeah, even if he is.
Patrick Mahomes.
Well, I just love the idea that, colleges get things wrong, right? And Allen is a great example, right? And so where he went, everybody said, oh, he didn't play competition. He wasn't, he's not up to the level that of the NFL or whatever, and I just think that it just shows that the college, that the NFL doesn't take much consideration. If you have the intangibles, then look at Rousseau. I mean, how many games did he play in college?
He missed last year. I think he only had 2 full seasons, right?
Well, he sat out the COVID year. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
I think 2 full seasons.
He was
is what
supposed to be
had.
the project, and now he's our starting defensive end.
My point exactly. So it's just another. Tangibles is what matters, right? And so I guess I don't know.
An athletic ability.
Tangibles.
Or the intangible index.
Was I not supposed to say that? I'm sorry.
No, you totally were. We love it.
Intangible index is
I think that this conversation plays a tiny role in the intangible index.
I think it proves our intangible index exists.
It proves that the intangible index
exists.
So on that note, intangible index exists.
And we got score predictions.
I want to. Okay, I will hold off the last thing because it's just a short note, and as no one else needs to say anything. So scores.
Cool.
Noah. 33-30 us. Last second field goal from Tyler Bass.
That's high scoring.
From 70 yards.
Oof.
Hey, break the record. I don't care. However you can win. Have him kick it off. I don't care.
Prediction.
I'm gonna say 27-20 Bills.
I could dig it. I'm going 34-17.
Which team?
Bills.
Pats. They're gonna kill us.
You destroy us.
All right.
Paul just completely reverses.
Positive?
You're right. Josh Allen's about to have the worst game of his
You want me
career.
to keep it positive for everybody. 21.
21-17.
Wait, 22-17. 22-17. They were winning when I made those predictions. So
True. When you made the low ball predictions,
the
it's true.
22-17 prediction. So 22-17.
Scoregami, how do you get to 22?
We've had this conversation numerous
2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and a safety.
Yep.
Okay.
That's how it's. I don't care if they win 2-0. You know, whatever.
Give me a 2-0 game.
Give me a 4-2
Yes.
game.
Yeah.
You know? I don't care.
1-0.
Red Sox Bisons. You know.
Yeah.
So okay. On that note, we're gonna wrap it up. Congratulations to the Wisconsin Badgers women's volleyball team on winning
great
the national
doing it.
championship. They beat my girls of Nebraska. Go Big Red! But it was a wonderful final, and it went to 5 sets, and it was really awesome to watch. Noah is bringing out shirts we have for sale.
Yes.
So we have our Dawson Knox Fort Knox shirt, comes in black and blue.
There it is in blue.
It looks the same, but in black when it's in black.
There it is in
Black
black.
looks slick.
Yeah.
The black's nice.
The black is really cool.
Hey, Dawson Knox, if you're watching,
Sure.
I will pay for your shirt if you hit our DMs up.
Oh, I just showed it.
we're gonna we could show it again.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, look good, right?
And then we have our golden arm,
Which is buried.
which is buried right now in a deeper box. So Noah needs to make our golden arm. And our Zazzle store is officially closed. All right. So on that note, Noah, take us home.
As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, dislike, interact with us. I don't really care. But just
interact.
with us. If you made it to the end, we appreciate you as always. And stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and wear a freaking mask. Go Bills.
Stay sunny, Buffalo.
Stay sunny.
Nice. I like it. All right. Peace out.